Okay, so I want to talk about this idea of having morality without religion, and that it actually is easier than we think or it's made out to be, and we do it every day, all day long. I'm going to be looking back and forth to my little cheat sheet here to make sure I get some of the basic ideas. This is going to be in two parts. The first part is going to deal with the idea of morality without religion, how you can actually do that, and how we do that every day. And then the second part will be why people say you need religion for morality. So, first, I think we have to define what we mean by morality. And there's at least two definitions. One is morality, as in your morals, your principles for your code of conduct. And then there's morality, as in the code of conduct in and of itself. And then for religion, at least two ways of looking at that. There's religion, the thing you do, the pursuit, and then there's religion as in the social organization. And we'll get to that one in the second half a little bit more. Um, so I wanted to ask those people who are religious, who might be watching this, what do you think about the following? Do you think the following scenario, the following act, is immoral? Somebody drives faster than the school speed limit through a school zone during school hours. They break the speed limit in a school zone. Would you consider that immoral? If you say yes, is there anything specifically from your religion that says that specific act is immoral? Probably not, right? The religions that most people believe in were made up way back when, and there were no cars around, so there's no traffic laws. Now, you might get something like Jesus said, render unto Caesar Caesar's, and render unto God what is God's. And Caesar in this case would be the state, and the state sets the speed limit. Of course, just because the state, the government says something is legal, it's debatable if that thing is also moral, right? And we debate that on lots of issues. You know, what is moral and what is legal may be two different things. What is the simplest reason that the simplest has nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with spirituality? What is the simplest reason why breaking the speed limit in a school zone during school hours may be considered immoral? Because you might hit somebody, right? You may cause an accident, which you may cause an accident anyway, even if you followed the speed limit. If you drive faster than the speed limit, there's an increased chance of harm. And so we know that, right? Some traffic engineer got some data, looked at traffic patterns and speed, and determined, let's say 15 miles an hour, that's the optimum speed for driving through this area during school hours. So it's basically facts and reason, right? It's that simple. And it's also about doing harm and a certain type of harm, and we'll get into that into a minute or two or three. Along with this, if you wanted to test this idea out that usually what we consider immoral tends to be what also causes harm, try this if you have some time. Take a piece of paper and on one side of it, write down everything that you think is immoral. On the other side of it, write down, let's say, 24 things you think are morally acceptable. Probably, not everything, but probably most things have to do with harm. If it's causing some type of harm, we call it immoral. If the thing doesn't cause harm, or it doesn't cause what you might call malicious harm, harm for the sake of harm, or harm because of greed, or harm because of jealousy or negligence, then we say the thing is usually morally acceptable. Now, this doesn't cover everything, and we do disagree, like, is eating meat morally acceptable or not, right? You are hurting something. Do you need to eat meat to survive? And there's debate on that kind of stuff. But usually to get us in the ballpark most of the time, if something is causing harm for the sake of harm, or out of greed or selfishness, negligence, or even apathy, usually we say that is unacceptable behavior, that is immoral. So out of all of this and a little bit more, I want to give you what I think could be a useful definition for morality, and this is mine. That morality isn't just a thing you do or a thing you have. Morality is also kind of a process. It's a process to determine how an act or some number of those acts, taking into account both the outcome and intent of the acts, has affected, is affecting, and or may affect the safety, security, and stability of society, and this determination to be made using facts and reason, like we've been doing. Let's see, malicious aggression, we got that. Did that. Okay, so let's take another example for the religious people. Is the only reason, if you're religious, whatever your religion is the only reason you don't steal from your neighbor because of your religious beliefs? That's the only reason you don't steal from your neighbor? Probably not. So what are some other reasons you might not steal from your neighbor that have nothing to do with religion? Well, there's consequences for your actions, right? You might get caught. What happens if you get caught? You get in trouble. You get a bad reputation. You have to pay a fine. Maybe there's some type of retribution. Your neighbor steals from you or their friends steal from you. Maybe your neighbor shoots you or they try to take a swing at you. There's all of these potential negatives that could happen if you take this action. And of course, maybe you just don't want to steal from your neighbor, right? That you're not this horrible, evil creature that's being held back by religion. Maybe you have this thing called empathy, and you don't want to cause harm to your neighbor because it would make you feel bad. So you don't do it for that reason. Now, little kids learn this very quickly, right? So you have kid A, let's say 4 years old, and they're in, I don't know, pre-K. Kid A steals kid B's cookies. What might happen? Well, kid B might punch kid A in the face. Kid B steals from kid A. The other kids see what happened and maybe they shun kid A. The teacher causes kid A to get into a little trouble with mom and dad. Maybe kid A gets away with it. Again, you have an action and these reactions, and some of those reactions you might not like. And so you learn very quickly, if I don't want something bad or something I don't think is very pleasant to happen to me, then maybe I shouldn't do this thing that causes harm to someone else. Now, of course, if you're a Christian, what does that sound like? The golden rule: do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And some of you are probably saying, see, it's religion, sweet Jesus came up with it. Just think for a minute. Civilizations and humans have been around longer than sweet Jesus was supposed to have been around. So if humans couldn't figure out, thousands of years before Jesus was around, hey, maybe we shouldn't punch each other in the face, or I shouldn't punch you in the face because maybe you'll punch me in the face, and I don't want to get punched in the face. If our ancestors, when they were running away from woolly mammoths and saber-toothed tigers, couldn't figure that basic stuff out very early, they would not have survived and we would not be where we are today. This is pretty basic information. I think that covers it. I mean, there's more we can get into, but I think that gives you kind of a little chunk of how you can be moral without religion and, some of the reasons. So facts and reason. You can have morality without religion by figuring out how an act affects the safety, security, and stability of society using facts and reason. And if you do something, how might that come around and bite you in the rear end? Is the mechanism maybe for keeping us in line? Okay, so now on to part 2. Why do people say you need religion for morality? Again, it goes back to one of those definitions of religion, that religion is the religions. The religions are social organizations. They're clubs. and clubs need members to survive. So the religions are saying, you need this thing, and we are the ones that are selling it. You can't get it anywhere else, right? Just like if you want salvation, you want to be lifted up, you want to see your loved ones again, we have got what you need. Not just an option, but a necessity. We're the only game in town. And all the religions are saying that, right? So if you decide, and if some of the members of that club, that religion, that social organization decide, well, we don't need what this social organization is selling, and they leave that social organization at some point no longer ceases to be. So, you know, they're trying to get members to join. It's member benefits. But if you don't think you need the member benefits, why join the club? I think it's really as simple as that. Some people have more nefarious ideas about it. I think it's just religions are social organizations. They need members. If people don't join and people leave the club, no more club. So that was my little bit. Like to hear what you think. Thank you for your time.